All right, now let me figure out where the hell I'm at.
Are you live now?
Well, I hit the button. I suppose I'm live.
Some guy named Love My Drones just went live.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Damn, he's such a prick. I'm trying to get my chat up. I hate the StreamYard chat. I don't know what it is. So there'll probably be a momentary lapse of reason while I get shit muted. And
Yeah,
stuff
let me
like
get you
that.
some. Let me give you some watch time.
Rigor mortis, rat, drone shots, Michael McReynolds. Hey guys, Jay Bird.
Yeah, let me get you some. Let me give you some.
Somebody's got theirs playing in the background.
Not me.
I got it muted. We're okay. And now I got to pop out the damn chat. Let's see. Let me take care of that. Okay, for those that have just joined us, we've been talking about a lot of crap before I actually went live, and now I can't remember what the hell it all was, but it was interesting. You'll see there are two characters in my screen. I'm not talking about the two YouTube people that are in the screen, but I mean on the picture of me. These. Oh wait, this is way. Wait, what's going on here? I think I froze. Okay, so these two people here. One is in Wisconsin, one is in Georgia. Okay, the one on my left, I think he, oh, that's StreamYard. That's nowhere delayed. The one on the left is, I don't know, sounds like an Irish name. He's a guy from Georgia. Okay. Then the guy on the right is Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay. Both are self-defense arguments. And while they are both self-defense arguments, the guy on the left is a lot more. The guy on the right should go free. Let him go. Acquit his ass. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been there, but he should have. But he was trying to protect the city. So they established him, whatever. The guy on the left is just a redneck. Well, no, he served in the Coast Guard. So, I thank him for his service, but he went above and beyond his call of duty at this time. Okay? It's just, there is two completely different incidences. So I'm just giving you my opinion on those two cases. Not that it'll make any difference at all or that anybody gives a shit. But that is what I feel.
Well, everybody in the chat's agreeing with you. Rigor mortis said Rittenhouse 2024. Roadkill said Kyle for president.
Well, hey, Roadkill. Hey, Butch. Listen, I don't know about president. He's a little too young, I think, right now, but his head's in the right place. I don't know. I don't understand. In the case of Rittenhouse, I don't understand how people couldn't see it from his point of view, where these people flood into a city or whatever, and then burn the place down, break windows, run out with whatever they want, all in the name of a protest, and a lot of them don't even live there.
Well, let's just say they weren't protesting, they were rioting. Clear difference.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely a clear difference in those two terms.
Look, you know, I know it's been over a year ago now, but the summer of 2020 and the the lamestream media tried to call it the summer of love. Well, I didn't. I've seen plenty of video where there wasn't much love going on. Okay, and I I really was embarrassed that we as Americans would act like that.
Yeah, you expect more people to be more civil.
I mean, well, come on, man. When's the last time? Okay, I'm trying to think back when I can remember the last time I saw crap going on like that. And what was his name? Rodney King,
Yeah, that was
Los Angeles.
that was
That
what
was like 30 years ago.
that was what 1992, I think, the riots in
I
Los Angeles.
Well, good for you. You can be my fact checker, Justin, because I don't know.
And Rigor Mortis said Kyle displayed more control than I would have, and I was trained and tested infantry. Thank you for your service, Rigor Mortis.
See, here's what's screwed up, okay? Because I, you know, started the stream a while ago, and I think the three of us before I went live, we're having some pretty cool conversations, but I can't remember what they were now.
Well, we were talking
about. I said my shit about the trial. You know what's cool though? Okay, so the camera bird people. That was pretty cool FBI footage. The FBI was taken with their drone for the Rittenhouse stuff, wasn't it? So we'll get into the drones now. I mean,
well, the drone footage that they were talking about in the court case was shot by a private person that worked for a drone company in that area. But and then the prosecutor just completely made himself look like an idiot when he was talking about it. Because, like I said, he was talking about, oh, well, we didn't know how video compression worked. We didn't know how to do this. We didn't know how to download it and send it through email. And we were having issues sending it. And the whole time I'm like, if it was any other case, you would have had a whole army of tech experts on there. I mean, and for you to sit here and act like you guys don't have somebody sitting around that can deal with good night, baby. I love you. Having a whole thing of tech experts around that can decipher all that for you and actually pull a simple video off of somebody's phone, like how hard is that to do?
All right, let me ask you this.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought there because my daughter walked up to me.
It's okay. Every train runs off the rails now and then. Listen, so I've seen now, because they played it on Fox, both versions of that same tape where I guess Rittenhouse shoots the pervert guy. I can't think of his name right now. But I don't see where it changed anything. I mean, yeah, the high definition looked better. I could see things better, but the result was the same. You know, guy was acting in self-defense. That's all. That's it. And the thing that still bugs me, and I had this guy comment on my video last night, on my live stream last night. And he said something like, oh, they were reacting because of the fact that he had a gun and he was carrying it around, and they were just trying to subdue him or whatever. And I'm like, first of all, Wisconsin is open carry. everybody out there, because you're openly carrying it, everybody knows you have it. So what idiot is going to run up to you in a hostile manner knowing that you are armed? That means they're an idiot. Okay? Do they deserve to get killed as a result? No, but you better stay away. Okay? I don't understand that argument, especially in open carry state. So
Well, Ed,
anyway,
I kind of want to touch light on what you just said. Do they deserve to die? Well, this is the thing. If you run up on anybody that is not bothering you and you threaten them, whether it's a skateboard, a knife, or a gun, you have now forfeited your right to live if they pull a gun out and kill you. That's did they? If you want to say morally, did they deserve to die? Maybe not. But at that point, they were playing with their own lives in their hands. So, I mean, I'm not saying that you may feel a different way about it, but honestly, I feel like they forfeited their right to live at that point. And whether they're, like I said, because if you smack somebody with a skateboard and one of those trucks hits you in the head, it's going to hurt you bad. I mean,
plus, you smack someone, you got to expect them to smack you back.
Right.
I mean, what's a guy supposed to do? You do not just stand there and take a beating for no reason.
So I kind of, I don't really know how to word it. Did they deserve to die? In a way, I guess they did, because they're, like I said, they kind of forfeited their right at that point.
All right, so Michael, I want to address what Michael McReynolds said in the chat. Look, I'm a wise old man. Now, I'm an old man. I'm not going to say I'm wise, but I do have common sense. So, Michael, you got to realize this kid was 17 years old. He's pissed off about a city that he loves, a city that his father lives in, and he's pissed off about being burned down. So, would I have gone out there? I have a few weapons that I could walk around, there and do that, but I'm too old for that shit. He was 17 years old at the time. So it's completely different. Oh, I think you were a Marine too, Michael. So I'm not a Marine. If I was, I'd be an old broke down Marine. And I wouldn't do that. And can I honestly say that I don't know what I would have done at 17. If I had a cool AR-15, I think I had a Mini 14 that was made by Ruger. Shot the same round, 223, back then. And had my city been being burnt down, I might have had the urge to walk out there, and it'd be displayed. That's far different. See, like what you were talking about, Justin, with a skateboard or even a fist. Like, I'm a small guy, a big guy like the first guy that was shot. You could tell he's bulky. You could tell he was like almost like a crazed lunatic in a way. Look, every screenshot of a picture I've seen of him, he looked pretty scary. He could probably kill me with a couple blows to the head. People got to understand that people can be beat to death. There are a lot of people beat to death by bare fists all the time. And I love the part where the prosecution, in this very trial, when was this? This is a couple of days ago now, because the jury's been in deliberation for a couple of days now. But the prosecutor actually talks about, haven't you ever gotten in a fist fight or whatever? And you can tell this guy's never been in a fist fight. The only way he'd win a fight is if he laid on top of you, because that sucker weighs a good 400 pounds, I'm telling you. So it just the look. I've never been a physical guy. I've never been to do the fisticuff thing. I've had to do it a few times. I'm actually a much better wrestler than I am a boxer. But to get you on the damn ground, use their weight against you, judo like kind of stuff. But now, no. If you're coming at me like that, I'm just going to shoot you. I'm not going, you know? Why go through all that pain and misery and that? No, if you're attacking me, I'm just going to shoot you.
Like
That's it.
I kind of agree with what Michael Reynolds just said. You know, if he was my kid, I'd have told him to stay home, don't get involved. But at the same sense, what if he felt like he wasn't going to have a home tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? Like if your entire
Yeah.
community's under attack, you're at that point, you're almost, you may feel obligated to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, if you know if I was in his shoes and I felt like the riot was getting close to my house, you know, I may want to hand my kids a weapon and say, here, you know, because we're going to watch each other. But like I said, I kind of agree with what I understand what he's saying at that point.
Well, I mean, like, all right, so like Michael McReynolds just said, and I would tell my kids the same thing, Michael. I wouldn't, unless it's close to home, like around the corner. No, you don't do that. You stay around the house. Somebody comes here wanting to burn down the house. Okay, plug their ass.
And I'm not sure exactly how
But don't go looking for trouble. And see, that's the problem with most of this. Is most of these people that are camped out at the courthouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and those camped out in front of the courthouse in Georgia, they are looking for trouble or they're looking to celebrate. And whether they're looking for trouble or looking to celebrate, depending upon what the verdict is, doesn't matter because the end result is usually the same. So they can light a fire in protest or light a fire in celebration. Crap still gets burned down. They're still looking for trouble. They're looking for a reason to have trouble. And
yeah,
I don't understand why we just can't all get along.
and like I said, I understand what Michael said, but you know, like Marcel's saying here, and even Rigor Mortis is saying, you know, standing around not doing anything isn't going to help. And maybe he felt like his back was against the wall, like he wasn't going to have a home to be at in the morning. And you know what I'm saying?
I mean, that changes everything. When you don't have when you think the home you might be going back to might not be there, that changes everything.
And that's the way he may have felt. We don't know because we weren't there. We don't know what he was thinking at that particular moment. But he could have been thinking, you know, this is hitting way too close to home. We might not have a home tomorrow. I got to do something. And that's where I give it to him because he stood up as a freaking, what was he, 16 at the time? I think he's 17 now, if I'm not mistaken.
He's actually 18 now.
Okay, so he was 17 at the time, I think, right?
Right.
So I give it to any 17-year-old these days that has that kind of courage and has that kind of commitment to their community. Because, well, I'm not going to say these days kids aren't like that because I've met a lot of good younger kids more than I've met dumb kids. So, I mean, I know everybody wants to bag on the newer generation and say, oh, the kids these days. But you know what? Your parents said the same thing about your generation. Kids these days don't know what we were like. You know what I'm saying? there's always a group of good kids in every generation, and I think he was one of them.
You know, and I'll agree with that, Justin. And to have you reconfirm that gives me comfort. Um, you know what's funny is, I mean, this channel was never meant to be about politics, but it kind of migrated. It's migrated into that a little bit here and there, and you know, kids have a dream just like we had a dream, and some suck at it and some don't, and some have good parents and some don't, and that's what it all boils down to. Um, some kids do great in spite of having shitty parents or having a broken home, and those are the real achievers. But I mean, I have some hope. I'm kind of have some doubts about the way things are going politically right now, but I do have hope and faith that the USA, you know, all countries go through these little
They're ups and downs.
lapses, you know, they're little.
We all go through ups and downs. No country is perfect. And like I said, I see a lot of young kids on the internet that are, you know, posting, you know, I stand with the flag, I stand with the military, I don't believe in any of this. So, and like I said, I really give it to Kyle Rittenhouse. I think that he had good values growing up, obviously. I mean, because I think his moral compass was in the right direction. So I can't.
The other thing is, too, is why was it okay for people to have a riot and let it get out of hand? If that hadn't happened in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm. And like I said, if you look at a lot of, you know, Republican-ran states during this whole rioting crap, a lot of that didn't happen. Like down here in Florida, we didn't have a lot of issues during that whole thing. It was very peaceful down here. We had one little riot that kind of popped off for a few hours in Lakeland, which is about an hour from my house.
Oh, yeah.
And they squashed it really quick. It was done and over with. They weren't putting up with it because they had law enforcement that was allowed to do their job.
Yeah, like New York City had it, but the whole state's the blue state. But up here, none of that shit happened. I mean, you don't dare do that shit up here. Whether you want new sneakers or not, you don't go breaking into stores.
I mean, and look at some of the best growing states as far as economy-wise are going. They're all red states at the moment because that's where companies are now moving to, and people are that, you know, don't have the same values as these people in the blue states are leaving to go to what they figure is a safe haven sanctuary.
Didn't Tulsa move over to Texas?
Who? Yeah. Elon Musk left because over tax rules, because California wanted to pass a rule that said you had to pay, if you made over a certain amount of money, you had to pay taxes for up to 10 years, even after moving out of the state.
How can they even do that?
And the tax, and plus taxes were getting so high in California, he moved his whole plant and everything to Texas, sold all his homes in California and moved there.
That's what I heard. Plus, another thing about that supply chain, I heard that California has a rule that if a semi is too old, it can't go into California. And that's part of the problem they're having.
I know about that whole situation. Actually, Dre, Recovery One Drones, he actually talked about it one night on, it was either Jim or Matt's channel, but he's very versed on that. He knows all about that. If you have questions, you could ask him on that. He knows all about those. But yeah, they're switching it to where you can't use certain cars if they're certain, like diesels, if they're a certain age or whatever.
In the future, you can't even buy a gas-powered lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Jesus.
See, here's the deal, man. when Trump was in and he was building the wall and stuff, I'm like, you need to run that wall right up along the California border all the way up to Canada and wall that part off too. Now, I feel bad for some of my California friends that seem to be more on the right side of things, like Steve Carpenter and Al Diaz, I'd feel bad for them. It's like, okay, we'll send you a passport. But California's just crazy. California, Washington, Oregon. I know
Marcel,
they're beautiful states. I'd love to visit them. But their politics is like, holy crap.
I mean, I'm from California, so I can speak on
Are you?
California.
Okay.
And, I moved here 8 years ago, and I don't regret it one bit because of the way California is being ran. I mean, it's
So it was
ridiculous.
just 8 years ago you were in California then.
Yeah, I grew up there. I grew my entire life there. And then,
That's wild. I've always wanted to drive the Pacific Coast Highway, but I've never gotten west of East Texas.
oh, you just had Jeffree Style FPV pop in?
Hey, Jeffree Style, how are you, brother?
And
Good
there
to
was
see you,
somebody
man.
else a minute ago. It was, I missed her. Loves You. I don't know who that is, but.
She's in the Philippines, I think.
Okay, she popped in a few minutes ago and said hi.
So it would be
Marcel's there
very
too.
late for her. Jeffree Style is in Northern California, as I recall. And he's a great flyer. Flies some great FPV. I think he does. So thanks, Jeff, for being here. It's funny the view count has changed. We were down to 2 for a while. We're back up to 6. Not great, but that's okay. I don't do this every night, and that's okay. I'm hanging with friends,
And I want to bring up a point we were talking about before you went live, and I want kind of everybody in the chat if they agree with me or not. But there's no room at this particular moment for being passive. I don't believe there's any room for that at the moment. Everybody
What do you
needs
mean
to.
about the way things are going with our country?
I'm just saying, yeah, the way everything's going right now, there's no room for passiveness. And as far as passive, what I mean is there's no room for, I'm just going to sit quiet and mind my own business and I'm not going to do anything or get involved. You're going to have to at some point, because if we get to the point where there's a civil war, you can't be just sitting there and you're going to have to do something.
I'm with you there.
There's just no room for that right now.
And that's part of the problem with the Republicans, because for years and years they just keep letting shit go. Left gets away with more and more. And look at the shit they pulled with that Kavanaugh guy, lying and said
See,
everything.
here's the way I see it, okay? And I tweeted this. I have a Twitter account. I do Twitter a little bit, but the deep state. I call it the deep state, and that is the people in government have got such a foothold, and that's why Trump had to go, because Trump was a businessman. He wasn't a politician. These these guys in the deep state, like Nancy Pelosi, how old is she? I know rocks that are younger than her.
How
Okay.
about Biden?
Oh
35
yeah,
years.
no, Biden's up there too. What?
35
He's
years. And
79.
can someone tell me something that he's done that worked?
No, he's just
Anything
leased
that he's
off the
done that was
damn
good?
government for 45 years or however many years. I have entertained the thought of running for office, but I have too many skeletons in my closet. I can tell you that. So I don't know. It's just I I don't understand how we've come to this. That's
And
all.
Joe Rogan brought up a good point not too long ago when he said, all these people that are screaming defund the police and calling everybody a Nazi, they're going to open a door that they can't close. And what he was talking about was all the veterans and ex-military and just everyday ranchers, people with guns, militias, local militias that still exist, that they're going to open a door that they can't shut, because these are people, he said that he brought up a point as far as these are people that have been trained to do the most atrocious things in war and have been there and seen the violence. And you get what I'm saying though, right?
Oh, I can't even imagine what it'd be like in war.
And he said these people that who's echoing, somebody's got their thing pulled up.
I'll tell you this, and I've seen hints of it before. And I'm telling you, if the current government pushes it too far, I I don't know what will happen. It's they've done a lot of pushing over the last year, and people are feeling the pain. Gas prices and all that stuff, and mandates on this and that, new regulations. Um, it's not looking as much like the land of the free right now. If you know what I mean.
Well, really, to me, honestly, it's not just, it really depends on where you're at in the country. Because honestly, if you're in Florida, you're in Texas, some of these like strongholds as far as the Constitution and everything, I don't feel like that in Florida.
I no. Now that's a good point, Justin.
But if
And
I
neither
were
do I.
if I was
No,
in California, I would feel like that.
here in Florida, I feel like the majority of Floridians have my back. In a sense, we're a bunch of Southern. You're not a Southerner, obviously. You're from California, but you may have adopted its principles by now. After 8 years, 8 years, okay, that can buy you some citizenship for Florida right there.
I grew up in a family that was Republican. They were pro-gun, pro-military. None of my family was left growing up in California. They were all Republican. I mean, there's a good amount of Republicans in California, but there's just more Democrats than Republicans, obviously.
Yeah, and I know, and I mean, on some of the streams, like I mentioned before, Steve Carpenter, um, Time to Fly, I think is his name. Jeffree Style. They're all from the left coast, as I call it, and they're freedom loving Americans, and they believe in the Constitution and all that. They just happen to live in a state that all screwed up politically.
Me.
And I mean, I'm
I
sure
hate my state is blue.
Where are you at?
New York.
Yeah, I mean, New York's just as
Upper
bad as
New York.
California.
Upper New York.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
that's
lower.
just as. I mean, New York's just as bad as California right now, as far
Lower
as
New York.
the way they're treating people.
But see, now this is funny, Justin, because whenever Bob says he's from New York, he always has to put in the upper New York part because he's ashamed of the lower New York.
Right, I understand what he's saying, but unfortunately, he's grouped in there.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's just
too
like
bad. I'm gonna move down by Ed.
I mean, I tell everybody that's living in a state like that, move somewhere where your values are held up and are actually listened to. Don't
bingo. What's funny is when you watch elections just like we watched a couple weeks ago with New Jersey and Virginia. They'll show the whole state and then they'll show the counties in it and what color they are. Well, when it comes to land size, it's more red than anything. They're voting Republican. But the blue squares, the counties, are like the cities where they're concentrated. And that's what the Democrats, they really pressure those people to be Democrats. I mean, they hit them up all the time, blah, 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 feed them all this crap. But the people out in the country, they know better. It's like, yeah, it's just, we've heard your shit before.
New York has talked before about splitting up from the city, and I think it would be a good idea. Just anything.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure that it was part of Virginia that they were actually thinking about succeeding to West Virginia.
That was recent.
They're like right on the border or whatever. Yeah, that's very recent. That's a recent story. I don't know how long ago it was, but it's recent. So I
waking up. And like,
but I mean, Virginia's got to feel better. I mean, they got a new governor. Yeah, and you know what I think is cool too is even though he's a Democrat, the new mayor for New York City, and he's an ex-cop. I think he'll do good, you know. And he's talking about cleaning the city up, you know, like Giuliani did. And then the Black Panther guy, not Black Panther, Black Lives Matter guy comes out and says, you go back to the old ways of policing, there's going to be riots, there's going to be fires, and there's going to be blood in the streets. Now that's incitement. You know, they're talking about Trump causing incitement. That's incitement.
Did you see what Jeffree Style FPV wrote? He said if the state of Jefferson would happen, we'd all be a good in here in Cali.
Yeah, I heard your governor today, Ed, saying that this is the last he heard. This was the United States of America, not the United Student School Board.
Oh yeah, DeSantis.
Yeah, that wonderful. Look,
I like your governor, man.
Yeah, he's such a good guy.
If he runs for president, I'll vote for the guy, man.
And that's the thing is, like I said before, you know, he understands that he works for the people, not the other way around. That's, you know, a lot of these lawmakers up in Washington, they think that we work for them. No, it's not how it goes. Because you've seen when people confronted Biden, that one, what was he, a construction worker, I believe, when he confronted Biden a few years ago at one of his rallies, and he asked him, he said something about, he asked him a question, and he said, sir, you work for us. And Biden said, I don't work for you.
Yeah, he does.
And that's exactly what he said to the dude. He told the guy, he's
like, Biden said that to somebody?
He was at a rally, and it was a bunch of, I just can't remember because it was so long ago, but I believe it was a bunch of workers, construction workers or railroad workers, somebody in the construction field. And the guy went up to Biden and was trying to ask him his stance on guns, I believe it was. Biden said something smart to him. He was like, well, you need to answer me, sir. You work for us. And Biden was like, I don't work for you.
No, they do. And how come they're all so rich?
I can't believe
salary doesn't count.
I wish I had that. I wish you had that sound clip of that. That's just reprehensible.
I'd have to find it because it was from like at least 2 years ago, if not longer.
Because, you know, it gets me that AOC spent all that money on that stupid dress for publicity.
Yeah, I know.
And tax the rich. Well, if you can spend money on a dress like that, that's stupid, then you got to be the rich one. I mean,
Well, it's like, like people have said this numerous times. You can go into politics poor, and you'll come out rich every time.
they come out richer than the pay equals out to.
Oh yeah, yeah. They'll get paid
They get
$100,000 a
all
year.
kinds of kickbacks, and
All
Pelosi's
right.
husband somehow
So,
gets rich on deals.
what's the salary for a House of Representative person? I think it's like $170 something thousand a year.
I think
Well,
it's under 200.
It is under
possibly.
200, yeah. It's 170 something thousand a year, I think.
But they all got
Um,
multiple mansions.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does that even freaking happen?
Okay,
That's what I'm
There's
so
some
saying.
shady shit going on if you're making 170. Well, what, by the
hold on.
way,
I'm going to read the salaries to you real quick. A senator in House of Representatives gets 174,000. A resident commissioner from Puerto Rico, which would be their non-representative but still have one, they make 174,000. The president of pro tempore of the Senate gets 193,000, and the majority leader also gets 193,000.
Then how come they can be so rich as they are?
so I mean that's my point. Okay, especially look at Nancy Pelosi. Let's just talk about Piglosi. She
Her
lives in
husband
California, and I guarantee the
gets
average
big
house.
deals.
What's the average price of a house out in California, Justin? Google that real quick. I
Honestly,
bet
I
it's
mean,
300,000.
honestly, it really depends on where you live. Let me see here. Let me Google it and see if it gives me what information it gives me.
No, I get it. Okay, so Nancy lives in, where does Nancy live at? I'm not sure. I don't want to know, really.
I think it's Wonderland.
Anyway, okay, so you see these senators, representatives, all that kind of shit, and
Okay, I got it, Ed. It's
I bet if you buy, I bet if 175,000, let's just say you saved all your money for a year and you bought a house, you buy a dump for $175,000 in California.
Okay, I got the hold on. I got the typical home value of homes in California is around $722,000.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah, there you go.
But that's also a rough estimate because, like I said, it
No,
depends on where you live.
I get the law of averages, but the speaker of the house is not going to live in a crappy little house either. It's going to be on the high end of the scale, I would think. So
No, somehow her husband gets in on the ground floor of all these really good deals that after the government makes a contract, it makes a contract with just happens to be the business that he bought into.
there are people
Pelosi gets money.
moving from California to Texas and to Florida in droves because they can sell their house in California and get twice the house in Florida or Texas, provided it's available, because people are fleeing California like they're fleeing New York because of the taxes. Hey, Ben Cratching, how you going? Doing? What's wrong with your drone that you gotta fix it? And see, Craig Mag Kiwi is here. He's in New Zealand. And obviously, he's having the same crap going on with his government that we're having here.
Oh, he's having worse trouble.
Rigor Mortis, were you talking about the whole meeting between Biden when you said shit show today? I was a little confused by your comment because I'm assuming that's what you were talking about the meeting between Canada and
Could be
Mexico.
what he's talking about. I'm not sure. Rigor Mortis is in Canada, by the way. Just so you know.
Because I love every Canadian I've met. I loved them. You guys are cool up there. I like you guys.
I've been to Quebec. Camped out on the St. Lawrence Seaway. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool because it was cool. I can't imagine doing a winter up there because it was in like July or August when I was there, and it got cold at night. It cold to me for this southern boy. You know, it got down in the 50s, I think. It's like it's summertime. What the hell? Hey, Mike Roche, how are you? How are you, Mike? What's go, up? Brandon. Mike, I keep trying to alter that phrase a little bit, and I like to take the S off of let's, so it's just let go, Brandon. Go ahead and fall down the hole. We're tired of watching you stumble around, you know. I'm old. I've been around for a while. I've seen what I think were some inept presidents. Jimmy Carter. Sorry, Jimmy. Sorry.
Ford
you lost the title. Biden's got you beat. Biden's worse than you were.
Mm-hmm.
Ford wasn't that great either.
No, I'm not saying they were all great. I'm just saying Biden took worst president award away from Jimmy Carter. And
Carter's gotta love Biden.
No, I know they're like two peas in a pod, but Biden's a rotten one. I don't know. I still find it hard to believe how much the country shifted over the last 4 years. I don't understand why they couldn't see a good thing when it was there. Yes. No, I know Ben Cratchit. He is just a puppet. For the deep state. See, that's why they had to get rid of Trump, because Trump wasn't playing by any of their rules. You think about all the shit that they put Trump through during his presidency, the Russian collusion, all this shit. They were constantly investigating his ass.
That they wasted
and he still got a lot done.
And they wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on those investigations.
Yes, they did.
And never found a single shred of fucking evidence.
Absolutely.
No. And now you find out that it's absolutely true. Hillary paid for it and it was false. And no, they're not reporting it and they're not going to jail. They're not doing anything about it. But if Trump puts out a bad tweet, they're going to fight that for 5 years.
Very true.
Well, I mean, I just hope that all this, at some point, okay, first of all, it's going to take 2022, okay? Because there's not going to be that deep an investigation into all the Hillary bullshit and whatever until we have a majority in the House and the Senate, because those are the ones that can bring up the investigation. If you're in the minority, you can suggest investigations, but you'll never get them off the ground. The speaker or the whoever won't let it get out onto the open chamber, so it just kind of like gets tabled. So that's what needs to happen. Everybody needs to mobilize. 2022, make it a red wave because we're the party of freedom and liberty, not the party of dependence. Even though I'm kind of dependent right now. Where's my Social Security money? Send it to me now.
But let's be honest here, though, too. Ed, every time that any side has ever done an investigation, nobody's ever been arrested. Think about it. Every single investigation you've ever seen in the federal government level like that over a politician, have you ever actually seen anybody get arrested on either side? I can't remember.
I'm trying to think about that. I think there's been a few.
I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but like, I personally can't remember a single time that anybody's.
Well, I mean, Justin.
Now
that you say that, I mean, I know there's been some cases. I can't think of a specific name, but there's no doubt in my mind that many have just been swept under the rug or completely forgotten.
Hey, Bob Casey, what's up?
Hey, Bob Casey.
Hey, Bob Casey. And Gene's RC addiction.
Yeah, right. Hey, Jeffree Style, like what Jeffree Style just said. If they did that, they got killed. Okay.
Epstein did.
Now, I've seen these rumors floating around before. There's a lot of coincidences in there where people that were criticizing Hillary or Bill Clinton, they just suddenly disappeared off the freaking map, okay? So Google that shit. And a lot of it you can say are conspiracy theories or whatever, but I don't know. These are powerful people out there. Mm-hmm. That's why I try and kind of stay a little under the radar, but
I mean, we all saw what happened to Epstein, so
yeah.
Plus, Joan Rivers said something about Obama's wife being a transvestite, and like a week or two later, she died during a simple operation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That may be a conspiracy theory, but yeah, I think so.
Well, who knows? I mean, it's just some of the coincidental. Oh, well, I'm glad that bitch died. Or that bastard died, Oh, well, there goes the evidence. He can't testify against me, I don't know. When you see stuff like that, it's like, it does make you wonder. There are nefarious things going on in this world that most of us, the private citizens around the world, around the United States that pay our taxes and whatnot, that we know nothing about what's going on.
Well, and everybody that's not in the U.S., they kind of need to follow U.S. politics because the way the world runs, I mean, U.S. politics affects every country in some way. That's why you see a lot of these people out here, rallying for certain presidents, and they're not even in the country. You'll have people having, Trump rallies in damn, Lithuania or freaking, the UK because they understand that it does affect their country because the U.S. has such political and financial influence over the world, and everybody's so entangled in the U.S. politics.
Well, I mean,
so they have to be just as concerned about our politics as we do. Unfortunately,
I agree, and Okay, one of the channels I have subscribed to is Sky News Australia. And all right, I didn't know much about Australia at first until I started doing the YouTube thing. Then I met Mars.
Yeah, speaking of that, I think Kiwi said something to you in chat.
Yeah, well, I met Mad Kiwi too. Oh, let you up. What does that mean, let me up?
Yeah, I don't know.
What does he mean? Does he want a link?
That plus Sasquatch came in.
And if any of you guys want real news on what's happening in China, watch China in Focus. It's a channel
Yeah, I'm
on
gonna
YouTube.
check that one out.
If you guys want, they're kind of like Australian, the Australian news, and they focus mostly on insider information in China and stuff. If any of you guys are interested,
Because you can't trust the news here.
it's called China in Focus. But the Chinese government hates that particular news agency because they have a lot of people on the inside in China that leak information to them about what's really going on.
I bet.
Rigor mortis. How do you tell if a frog is gay?
Look at that bloody Yorker there.
Look at that bloody head there.
How's it going?
Good, bud. How's it going? Drone days?
Good. You're not in your bar though, are you?
No. I just got back from getting a roadworthy on the car. Had
I
to
was looking for my
fix some
girlfriend back
things.
there.
Yeah. But hey, what's happening in the States, Canada, fucking Malaysia, everywhere, even New Zealand, Australia, the whole lot, there's some sort of shit going down that we've got no control over unless all the people fucking stand up and be counted. Because this country's going to pot really fucking fast. There's division between vaxxed and not anti-vaxxed.
I don't know how you guys put up with that.
Well, Kiwis normally would fucking stand up and be counted, you know, but fuck. They're just brainwashing us. They're spending thousands, millions of dollars on fucking advertising on TV, radio, YouTube, fucking Facebook, all that, brainwashing you all the fucking time. And when are they going to stop? They reckon the 90% of the country are double jab, but I think personally you'd be lucky if it was 60% double jab with this fucking Pfizer shit.
Well, see, I'm not really anti-vax. I'm anti you telling me I have to get vax.
No,
Yeah.
that's it. No, I'm not anti-vax either. I'm anti-fucking Pfizer. There's other virus vaccines out there, but they're poo-hooing fucking Novavax, which is protein based. It's got none of this fucking mRNA on it. And what do you fucking do? Just wait for it to fucking head south? Because we're lucky down the South Island. Hasn't hit us, but there's been another 100 and something odd fucking new cases today up north.
Really?
I'm surprised it hasn't hit south yet because there's people travelling from the north to the south all the time.
Now, would you think you said you're in Ireland, right? Is that where you said?
No.
Where'd you say
No. New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Sorry.
I thought I
That's right.
I heard you say Ireland.
Top of the morning to you.
Now, would you agree with me though that U.S. politics affects everybody? Like
it does, but
like
politics affects everybody worldwide. Like what happens in Britain affects everybody. What happens in Russia affects America. What happens in America affects Russia, England, New Zealand. All the big countries affects everybody. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But at the end of the day, there's only two countries that are sort of communist at the moment, North Korea and China. But I think China has opened up the gates a wee bit more.
I don't know if that's the only two. Isn't Venezuela in that mix?
Yeah, but Venezuela, it's at the arse end of South America, isn't it?
It's in South America. I don't know where the hell it is.
Venezuela. It's
think it's
above Argentina.
It was a prosperous country with oil that it could produce and all that shit until whoever made it a socialist state.
Well, I mean, there's other ones, but on an economic power level, I would say China's really the only player right now.
Oh, fucking! China could fart and wipe everybody out, and still have the shit to go.
I mean, I wouldn't put North Korea in there as far as power. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't put North Korea in there just because they border them. But as far as just power-wise and economic-wise, China's really the only big threat at the moment.
Yeah, well, the other one too is India. Like,
India,
the poverty
India and China.
Yeah.
India and China don't get along, though. I think if it came down to it, India would back us before they would China.
Yeah. But that's why fucking silly bloody Jacinda's in bed with China. Silly bitch. All our exports, like fucking meat, wood, and everything, goes to fucking China, comes back as furniture.
I mean, I want to get y'all's take on all of this. I mean, how long do you think before shit hits the fan, so to speak?
Not long.
From now on, dead right. From now on, where it stops, fuck knows.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say when you think shit was going to really pop off, because it could happen overnight, or you could see it gradually coming a year away.
Yeah, but is it a 2-bladed fan or a 6-bladed fan? It just depends how far it goes traveling, doesn't it?
Right, exactly.
And how much shit gets piled into the fan.
But I said, if you guys want to hear real news about what's really going on in China, watch China in Focus. And they'll give you not what mainstream media is telling you, but they'll give you the truth. Like I said, China's economy right now is about to really get into a serious shitstorm over their real estate market, which you don't see the mainstream media covering. But they're trillions of dollars in debt right now, and they're not even able to pay it back. You got billionaires that are selling their houses just to cover bond payments that they're running.
Our silly fucking Prime Minister, New Zealand almost went bankrupt about a month ago, and she borrowed another 40 billion New Zealand dollars, or fucking US dollars, or whoever. So, who's she borrowing this off? China, or fucking the World Bank, or the Rockefellers, or who? You know? Is it just a number?
That's all it is a number. And the numbers keep getting bigger. Here in America, we're looking at like a $5 trillion bill because we have roads that are racist.
Yeah, but we've only got 5 million people population in New Zealand.
Right.
5 million still seems like a lot of people. I don't know, man. I can't even comprehend that many people. New Zealand's not exactly big, is it?
Oh, it's big enough. Like,
big enough.
You put New Zealand on if you put New Zealand on the English map, we'd take up England, Scotland, Wales, and most of Ireland.
Okay.
And there's
so it's
64, 70 million people over there.
So it's almost like the whole British Isles. Then.
Yeah, basically the same size.
Like Mike Roche said, it's fake money. It's like, 80% of U.S. debt isn't foreign debt. It's just the government borrowing from itself and calling it debt. They're taking 20 out of one pocket, putting it in another pocket, and saying
sooner or later that's going to come back to bite.
Eventually, yeah, it could catch up. But the same, I mean, I don't know. It's complicated, but most debt, is just printed money. It's just made up.
That's
the funny thing is,
that's an interesting comment Rigor Mortis just said. He said you can fit the population of the Earth into the Grand Canyon and still have room for 3 more Chinas. I assume you're stacking them up like cordwood, Mark. That's the case, but the Grand Canyon is pretty big. I've never seen it in person. I would like to, but it's big. It's a big crack in the ground, that's for sure.
Well, 80% of the population lives near the ocean too, so there's actually a lot of uninhabited land that people don't live in. Look at the Midwest states. The Midwest states in the U.S., there's some cities that have more of a population than the entire Midwest state does.
Yeah, but look at Canada too. They stretch along the border, basically, and then you've got fucking 75% is just forest.
Same with Australia. They hug the coasts more than anything too.
Yeah, yeah. Same in New Zealand too. But that's just the human nature, I suppose. But yep. I'm quite happy that we live where we live in a funny sort of a way. Dead end road, right beside the mountain. We've got 8 acres and a creek and food in the freezer. Rotary hoe, make a garden or 3 or 5.
Sounds cool, man. I don't know, man. I've seen pictures of New Zealand. I love the Lord of the Rings.
Jesus Christ! Right?
And that's where most of the footage was shot, was in New Zealand. It's a beautiful country, man.
Oh, it is. But the biggest thing everybody needs to be concerned about right now is Taiwan, because that's the biggest political hot button at the moment.
Yeah, and that's where we'll get into trouble next.
Oh, fucking chair's gone. Right,
Bloody
here we go.
Is that the Domino's guy?
This is my backyard.
Damn,
everyone's seen it.
Oh, I'd love to fly there.
Well, who's the chap?
Oh, this is Ben. He's
Ben.
a drone person. He's a droney too. He got me into drones.
Okay, that's cool.
Before I met all you bloody buggers.
So it looks like he has a highway safety shirt on.
No, he's going to come out and help me swap a motor over in my ute or my pickup truck. But I've been busy fucking working on the other car today, so another day.
With another day.
I've got all the gear to do it. Just time.
Bob, was that your kill or somebody else's? He got a 11-point buck less than 100 yards from his back door yesterday. I wasn't. Didn't even have to leave his house if it was his.
Is that? I thought I saw a hobbit house over there. Over there, that hill. I bet there's a hobbit living in that hill.
It's got your mailbox out the front of it, Ed.
Does it? Look at the dog. That dog's tail was going crazy a minute ago.
What's up, JRC? How's it going, bud?
Kayla.
Ow! Ow!
She doesn't like the camera. Stardust.
Okay, so it wasn't Bob's kill. It was his neighbor that got the deer. Very cool.
What do you mean you're in the weeds tonight, John? What does that mean? What do you mean by that? Hey, John.
But anyway.
No, you have a nice spread. I've seen some of your videos of your spread before. That's cool. I mean, it looks like a cool place to live. That doesn't look so cool.
Oh, that's all right.
You bloody Yorker.
Yeah, I didn't realize your guys' population was so small.
Oh, I've got a front facing.
I never realized New Zealand only had 5 million people, because that's really not that many people.
No, we're just a fart,
5
fart in the
million
ocean.
sounds like a lot to me. I don't know.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not.
So what's the population of Florida, Justin?
Hold on, let me look it up. Let me look it up real quick. I want to say California. Shit, they're around 50 million.
Yeah, the British Columbia, okay. British
21,
Columbia does look rugged. Too cold.
21 million, Ed.
How many?
21 million.
Wow.
So we can fit
That's
4
just
New
one
Zealands.
state. That's just one state.
It's not that huge a state either.
Well, the South Island, as far as I'm aware, there's only 800,000 people living in it. So the main population's in the North Island, which is smaller than the South Island.
We're just the dick of America hanging out in the ocean.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
But are you fucking everybody?
No, unfortunately. Although the Democrats might think that we were fucking everybody because we have been pretty red lately. So,
So what do you guys got? Democrats and the what?
Okay,
because
so
Florida's
I'm a Republican. We're red people. Okay, we wear
Democrats are
like
blue.
this.
Blue, is that right? Democrat are blue, like National and Labour over here.
Yeah, they're blue.
Well, I mean, you would call them lefties versus righties. Okay.
Yeah, same fucking system.
Yeah, conservative versus liberals who tend to lean towards socialistic kind of tendencies. Okay. So anyway, you see it, the tide turns from election year to election year, but this year Virginia turned red, which was gratifying.
Yeah, because
but
Florida
I mean, I see the same kind of shit in Australia, and I see it. Well, not so much, but I see it in New Zealand. But
did you hear something really, really funny?
Yeah, sure.
Right, we've imported 35 million tons of coal, or 35,000 ton of coal. No, it's 35 million tons of coal from China to keep our carbon credits down, right? And they've closed another coal mine in New Zealand, so we haven't got any carbon credits because of coal mining. But we're importing the fucking shit from China, and the stuff here is fantastic coal, shiny coal, bituminous coal. Some of it's running at 16,000 BTU, which is pretty hot stuff.
All right,
but it's all fucked up.
Well, that's why I told that earlier.
I don't know much about this stuff as far as the coal goes. I just know I think it was Sky News Australia that said that Australia has the cleanest coal, the cleanest burning coal in the whole world.
But
so
that's
y'all
the
are
thing.
importing it from China? Why?
No. Here. This is what I was telling you earlier, Ed. China banned Australia from selling coal to them because of shit Australia said to them, and it pissed them off. So China ended up buying Australian coal from third-party countries for a higher markup, which didn't hurt Australia because these countries were buying it like crazy from Australia to feed China. And so they were marking the price up. So China was just paying more for Australian coal. And it actually, the sanctions that China put on Australia didn't even hurt their economy. Australia's economy still grew by like 8%. So it didn't even hurt them.
That'll fuck them.
I mean, it didn't do any good because China's so reliant on other countries for their energy needs, for gas, for coal. I mean, they almost can't produce. They can't be self-sufficient when it comes to natural resources
Anything.
for energy.
Even food. Even
Right.
food. But yeah, like I said, it starts now. Where it stops, fuck knows. About with the pH.
All right.
I'm glad I'm old as I am now.
No,
wouldn't
I
wanna be
hear you,
born
Bob.
much younger.
See, here's the thing that drives me crazy is all these people talking about going green and all that. Look, I don't have a problem with doing some green shit. I don't mind that at all, but it's not ready for prime time. God gave us coal. God gave us oil. We should use it, okay? Until the green shit is up to prime time. And you know, here in the United States, gas prices are going up like crazy. One of the economic people under Biden or whatever said we need to make the oil companies go broke so that people have to go green. You know, and then the bloody president goes out there and drives around this electric vehicle that costs $100,000. Okay, well, I am in no position to go out and buy $100,000 electric car. I'll tell you that right, buddy. Now, okay, and not many other people are either. So unless this new bill they just passed, this infrastructure bill, is supposed to put all these electric charging stations around the United States. I don't have an electric car. I can't afford an electric car. I can't even afford an electric bicycle. So what good is this for me? Not a damn thing.
Well, the thing is, too, is these cars need lithium batteries to run off of, and lithium mining is just as devastating to the environment as any other mining is.
Yeah,
it's just
Correct.
as bad. So, and then the lithium batteries for like a lot of Teslas usually don't. They're only rated for like 6 to 7 years, and then you have to replace them, and there you can't recycle them.
And they're not cheap either.
No, and then the other thing is you've got to replace them, but you've also got to get rid of them. And nobody's taking lithium batteries, so what are they going to do with them?
Exactly.
Park them up. Park them up. And the other thing also with electric vehicles, the charging stations, you've got to reroute some of the power in your house specifically just for that charger.
Well, not to mention most electricity runs off of carbon, so
yeah,
you're doing an electric vehicle to charge off of a coal station 100 miles away.
Well, we're not too bad. We've got one coal-powered power station up in the North Island. We've got a hydroelectric in the South Island. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hydros down the South Island, and they've got a natural steam one running turbines up in the North Island as well. But we supply most of the power to the North Island from the South Island. We've got a big cable stretching across the strait.
Right.
Just chop the fucker off and let them float away.
Well, see, that's the big difference between
and all that shit is bad. I get it. It's cool. I have a few solar panels myself. I have a few solar panel powered devices, and that's great. But
you're doing your bit here.
Not ready for prime time yet. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But the thing is, it's just the government keeping big business afloat so they can make more money to sell more cars to mugs like Joe Bloggs down the road. He's doing his bit. He buy an electric vehicle. And then, like you say, 6 years down the track, fucking battery goes flat. It swells up. It's fucked. What's he going to do then? Spend another fucking $80,000, $100,000 on another vehicle?
No.
Or is he going to dig a hole and put the lithium back in the ground?
Yeah.
Well, and you know the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
advantage the United States has over China is the US can be self-sufficient for food, energy needs, where China, they have to import all their energy. 90% of their energy they have to import from the Middle East, from
Yeah.
different coal from different countries. They don't have
Really?
any of that those natural resources in their own country.
See,
I did not realize that.
New Zealand basically lives on tourism, overseas tourism. But if shit hit the fan, which it probably will, we're self-sufficient too.
Right. If you can supply your own oil, your own food, and you don't, and shit hits
Yeah,
the
well,
fan.
all the sheep farms that once were, and the arable farms growing grain and that, they've all turned to cow farms for milk, for dry milk powder to send back to China.
Mm-hmm.
And our economy is basically based on that and exporting timber. All our logs from our forests that go to China. Boat after boat after boat full of them.
So you sell a lot of timber to China, huh?
Yep.
Yeah,
Fuck all of it
actually,
goes anywhere else.
They
isn't
can't
there?
grow their own freaking trees.
Not as quick as we can here. Pinus radiata is mature and ready to mill at 20 years old here.
Well, isn't there a big old environmental battle in New Zealand over your guys' forests being tilled up and all that?
All right, here's
I think
okay.
I watched a thing on that not too long ago about that.
Yep.
Here's the thing that has always driven me crazy. Okay, you know, I'm not a young fella. Okay, I've been around for a few years. Okay, so I don't know when it was, the 80s and 90s. I think it was the 80s. It had kind of gotten cleaned up by the 90s. But do you remember hearing about acid rain? Do you remember any of that? I mean,
Acid rain.
yeah. So
Yep, I remember that.
basically, it's when we were using a lot of coal for electric generating stations and stuff like that. And we didn't know how to clean it back then as well. So it put a lot of sulfur dioxide into the air, I think it was. Well, when it went up
Yep.
in the rain clouds, it
Came
mixed
down as
with the
sulfuric
rain
acid.
clouds, and then when it rained, it was acid rain. It was corrosive to your car, and hell, I mean, you'd see pictures of Los Angeles, parts of California, where they had what they called smog. It was a mixture of fog and carbon monoxide, and it made this big fog. You don't see any of that anymore. We've cleaned our shit up. We've cleaned our shit up a lot. China ain't doing that. So screw them with the carbon footprint and all that stuff. Quit cutting down the damn trees, because trees need carbon dioxide. All plants do, to grow.
Well, to turn back into
Process
oxygen.
photosynthesis. I don't
Correct.
get this.
Yep.
Oh yeah, if you look at some of the Chinese cities, man, you can't even see 10 feet in front of you. It's so smoggy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's insane.
So, I mean, we're supposed to go into a climate accord with these pricks? No. We're supposed to suffer because those people got some dirty shit going on. That's just stupid. It's asinine.
Well, and China's proved time and time again that they go back on their word on everything. So I don't understand why everybody wants to keep doing business with them. If everybody decided tomorrow, you know, we're not going to do business with you anymore, China would be done overnight. Because look at what happened back in 2008 when the housing crisis happened in the United States and people weren't spending money like they were before. China's economy took a massive hit because Americans weren't buying everyday junk like they were before.
Yeah.
And yeah, I understand China has a lot of the manufacturing these days, but as big as businesses are and as much money as there are floating around, these businesses could easily set up manufacturing facilities in other countries within weeks if they really wanted to. I mean, I've seen.
But
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I guarantee all of everybody on this panel and in chat are buying cheap fucking bits and bobs for their drones from China because it's reasonably good quality and it lasts a long time and it's cheap. It might take a couple of months to get there, but it works.
Well, you know, that's like I've always said about DJI. I hate supporting the Chinese company, but unfortunately, they're the biggest game out there, and they make what I consider a jewel for China. They actually have a premium product coming out of China that does what it says it's going to do. And, you know, if there was an American company pumping drones out like DJI, I'd much rather buy their drones, even if I had to spend more money. Because I don't like supporting Chinese companies. I really don't. But unfortunately, that's where we're at. Because a lot of American drone companies, they're into the military aspect of drones. They don't really do a lot of, you know, just for everyday people. They're not out there just doing it for, you know, the everyday person to fly.
Hey, Ed, Bob Casey's taken off. You want to say goodnight to him?
I did that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, all right.
That's okay,
no,
but I appreciate you
Bob.
saying that. I see that, but I did see it that time.
Well, he took the chat into a little bit of a calm state and got everybody on hunting. They've all been talking about hunting for the last, 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about what?
They've been talking about hunting. Like
the way things are going, you may have to know how to do that shit. And I'm so glad my grandfather taught me. I don't have a stomach for it.
Well,
but I'm glad I know.
But you know,
I don't have the stomach for it either, Bob. I can clean a fish, but I don't know about cleaning a squirrel or whatever.
But this is the thing, though. I want to bring up that too about people saying, "Oh, I'm going to homestead instead of relying on it." You know, the what do you want to call it? The grid, they call it. Or even, even farmers these days, if shit hits the fan and the economy collapses, even farmers would have a tough time surviving because they rely so much on the outside world to fuel their equipment, for replacement parts for their equipment.
Do you know that their tractors are automatically powered by GPS?
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
So even even farmers, they're out there working their ass off every day, farming their things, but they're not doing it like the guys back in 1890.
No,
they don't have the manpower to run a farm anymore because now they can run a farm off of with 2 or 3 people. They can run a 900-acre farm because everything's automated. So even if you're homesteading and you're off the grid, your truck that you go to the store with, or you just go to visit people with, or to bring supplies in, guess what? Eventually you're going to run out of fuel for that truck. So now how are you going to get 30 miles into town to get supplies or to get a replacement part for your generator or whatever you might be?
What I mean,
when you start,
you got to do what you got to do.
You would still literally have to we would have to go back to almost 1800 style living, because even the person that thinks that they're the biggest homesteader and they can live off the grid, at some point they're still relying on everyday society for certain supplies, parts, and all that will go away if society collapses. They're not going to have fuel for their generator, even if they're running solar panels. What happens if their batteries go out? What happens if a solar panel breaks? Where are they going to
3 stores.
That dependable.
I got 3 stores make alcohol.
You know what I'm saying? Where are they going to replace
I mean, that's what I was going to say. Who saw the movie Kill Bill? Did y'all see the movie Kill Bill?
When it first came out, I don't even really remember.
Who was the one-eyed girl, the blonde chick? She drove, I think it was a Camaro. It might have been a Firebird. I'm not sure.
What's her name?
It was the car from the Kill Bill movie. And she, being all green, she's a green me, started using the garbage from her house to create ethanol, and that's what the car runs off of. Yeah, and Rat, you're kind of a special case because you were in the Army and all that stuff. There was somebody, somebody shared it, Bob. I can't remember who it was, but it was 1969 Vietnam
Good year.
rat. And it was like spaghetti or something. It did not look like spaghetti. It was disgusting looking. But it was all. But I mean, the thing, Justin. My paternal grandparents. They're from Alabama. I was born in Alabama.
With a banjo on your knee?
The property up there, they had a hay cutter, and I mean it was very mechanical. It kind of looked like a hedge clipper, except it had a really long arm that stuck out from it, and it did the scissoring thing, but it had no motor. The way the blades worked on the hay cutter was it had to be pulled by a mule.
Right.
A mule pulled it, and because of the wheels turning, as the mule dragged it across, across the ground, it made the blades go back and forth like a head.
You're talking about a finger mower, aren't you?
It was pretty cool. I mean, we didn't have any mules around when I hung up out there, but I always thought it was a very cool machine.
Well, the only thing I said, like the farmers these days, like I said, I'm not saying they're lazy or anything. They still all work their asses off to run their farms, but the way how automated they are these days, they can run it off a minimal staff. You know what I'm saying? They don't need 100 guys out in the field working anymore. They can do it with 5 guys in an automated tractor. So if shit hits the fan where all of a sudden GPS isn't working, they can't get replacement parts for their tractors, they have to go back to old farming ways. And
they
some
still
of them
need gas for the tractors.
Right.
Well, I
and
mean,
some
okay,
people may not, even these newer farmers may not know how to do those older ways because they never had to do them. And so it may put them in a predicament to where now they're having to learn on the fly because now, and then, like I said, they may not have the manpower to run a farm that size because now all of a sudden they're having to do everything by hand. You know what I'm saying?
You know why those mowers were banned, Ed?
What?
People lost fingers. Those mowers, those finger mowers, they got banned. People lost fingers and all sorts of things, but when you're mowing a paddock, they used to chop the legs off animals too. So you made the hay and you got food for the evening supper as well. So it was a win-win. But they banned them because the greenies didn't like it.
Good night, Rigor Mortis. Rigor Mortis is good.
Wait a minute. So you chop the legs off the sheep and ate the legs, and then the sheep was still there.
No, you got rid of the legs and ate the rest of the sheep because I couldn't get away from rabbits, deer, and I've just lost all my battery.
Well, if you cut the legs off of them, I guess you don't need
out of power.
That's horrible. I can't believe that.
But I think people have a bad misconception of what living off the grid is and what it actually is.
Justin, I got stuff ready just in case, and I've been doing this for like 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if shit hits the fan now, at my age, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try, but I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it more than a couple months.
That's not very positive, Bob.
But, I mean, he's being realistic, though. Most people aren't.
I'm still going to try, though. I'm still going to try.
Even if you're the greatest hunter but you got to think too, say you're a hunter that's been hunting with guns all your life. You've never hunted with bows. You've never hunted an old school type way. What are you going to do when you run out of ammunition? You know what I'm saying? Now you're going to have to really learn how like a hunter gatherer caught animals, because
and like Jefferson was saying in chat, you know, you can kill small game with like an air pellet rifle.
right.
And the thing about that is, if when shit really hits the fan, you don't want people to know where you are. And if you go shooting off rounds in the woods, you can hear that for miles away.
I think he was talking about more like a pellet gun.
Here's my philosophy on this. I think I saw this in a movie with Tom Berenger, but it's completely true. I think it's one of the sniper movies. One shot, one kill. And if you pop off a round with the gun, anybody that might be listening that trying to triangulate on your position or whatever, they won't be able to with one shot. Because the first shot
know you're there.
Gets their attention and they look around, oh, where did that fucking come from? You know, it takes a second or a third shot for them to really home in on where you're at. So
they're still gonna know you're in those woods.
Well, no, that's a valid statement. That is. But I've used that philosophy for years now. And I've shot guns where I should not have fired a gun by the law, let's just say. But I was doing it in a safe manner, like I was shooting in the ground, whatever, because it was 4th of July, whatever. I never shot up into the air. Only an idiot would do that. I would shoot into the ground. But I never got in any trouble. No one ever came looking. Versus if I'd fired off a whole clip or 6 rounds from a revolver, the cops would have probably shown up just because people home in on the sound. So just remember that one shot, one kill. But the air rifle thing is very good plan.
Yeah, if you don't want people to know you're there.
It's a lot quieter. And I'm telling you, I got an air rifle, and it's pretty damn. I haven't killed anything with it, but it's pretty damn deadly. I can tell you that.
But you know, like Sasquatch said, he said I can take a cable off an old bike and make snares. But you have different hunters. You got hunters that only ever use guns and hunt certain game. You have guys that are real survivalists that can go out and hunt deer. They can hunt rabbit. You know what I'm saying? They have a whole plethora of knowledge.
Well, look at what Rat's saying. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Look at Rat RH, what he's saying in the chat. He says he does it all the time, you know. So I mean, that's cool, Rat. I commend you on that.
But there's some people out there that may be a great hunter, but say they have a family with 6 kids and one of them's an infant. And all of a sudden now you guys got to run out into the woods and hide because shit hit the fan. And you need formula, diapers. I mean, this is what I'm saying. It gets
that would be tough.
Because you're reliant so much. You're so reliant on society for a lot of small things that you don't realize that you are until
that's very true.
There's very few people that are going to make it. I'm not going to be one of them. But
that's the truth, though, too. Like, if shit hits the fan, I don't have to worry about just myself. I got to worry about my wife and my 3 kids.
Yeah.
Which makes it exponentially harder.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? If you're a single guy and you're a survivalist expert and you're great at it, you'll probably survive for a long time. But if you're a great survivalist and you have a family of 5 or 6 out in the woods with you, it's going to make it more difficult for you. Regardless how good you are, it can still make it a very difficult. That's what I'm saying is a lot of people are out here saying, oh, I could survive. I could do it. I know how to do this and that. I understand that, but what you're not realizing is how much you actually are reliant on society for all the little small things. Like I said, you could be a great hunter with a gun, but what happens if you run out of ammunition after 6 months? then what are you going to do if you don't have the ability to make your own ammunition? Now you don't know how to hunt with a freaking spear. You know what I'm saying?
I've done a lot of camping, but when it comes down to it, I always bring shit with me to eat. You know, I've never even tried to do it without bringing the shit with me.
And like Jeffree said, you know, if you depend on any medical supplies, you're screwed. You could be the best
definitely.
hunter in the world, but guess what? But what if you're a diabetic and you're the best hunter in the world? Now all of a sudden you can't get insulin. It don't matter how good of a hunter you are. Because you're relying on, you know, a pharmacy to give you your insulin. That's why I said it's just, even the best people I think that would think they could survive out there, I think they would be in trouble after a couple of months.
These right here, I do have a couple old pairs put away, but without these, even with the old ones, if something happens to these, I'm not going to be aiming very good.
Well, I agree with you, Sam. Squatch, everything is in the wild, even medical can be found. But the problem is 90% of the population has no idea where to find that shit or even what to do. You're talking about a...
You think these people 30 years old even know how to take a shit in the woods?
Like, honestly, I would say I would probably be in the same boat with you. I would be so stressed just from trying to keep my family safe that it would probably drive me insane. Like,
all right, here's the deal. Okay, so there's a couple of websites that I've been, and Sam Squatch said something about everything you need, even medicine, can be found in the wild, and he's right. And I actually saw a book the other day that I'd kind of like to have, but you know, Justin and I, we both live in Florida. So to me, there's a lot less desirable places to bug out to being in Florida just because it's so populated, you know.
And then you got a lot of swamplands that are not really habitable.
The swampland is the part that isn't populated. So who wants to live there? You know, mosquito
what I'm
heaven.
saying, and it's not really habitable for long term because you got a lot
you gotta be swamp man to live in that shit. Now, I've done my share of swamp tromping. I've done that, but I don't want to live there. But that aside, when you talk about bugging out, they actually say that there's safety in numbers, even if there are some kids involved. Because if it comes to that situation, you need somebody paying attention the whole time because somebody, you know, people get desperate when shit hits the fan and you don't know what anybody's doing, you know, going to do. You know, they might think you have more crap than they do and they want to take it. You need somebody to sound the alarm. So they say bugging out by yourself is it's better to have a partner or two.
Because, you know, one guy may know something that this guy doesn't know.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, experience and stuff like that.
But to be a loner out there and honestly really to think that you're gonna make it on your own for a long period of time, I think that's a little naive to a certain extent.
Yeah. Well,
only because at some point you're gonna need something, whether it's medicine or whatever. Because like I said, you could be a great hunter, but that doesn't mean you're a survival expert. There's a clear difference between somebody that knows how to hunt and a survival expert. Well, because a survival
my concerns are going to be, I'm not going to make it anyhow, but a few years in is what happens when you get a toothache.
All right. So,
or you get an abscessed tooth or something. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Just it could be one little medical thing that could blow up and make, you know, just kill you.
I don't know what the I don't have the link, whatever. But anyway, I'm on a couple of these websites, and one of the things was an ad, and it's some woman. She's what do you call it? One that studies plants and all that, a botanist, and she shows all these common household weeds that people call weeds. They call them weeds, but they all have medicinal properties, and that's what Sam Squatch was talking about earlier. Um, that can be used for pain relief, that you can make tinctures out of. They have medicinal properties, and these are things that our grandparents knew before Big Pharma was out there. You know what I mean? They're all home style remedies,
Well, in your case, Justin, your great grandfather.
Well, I mean, that's the truth, because I would say from, ever since mass production of anything has been in play, a lot of people have lost the ability to do anything because they're so reliant on the mass, production of products that, like I said, even if you're the best hunter and you got diabetes, guess what? At some point, you're going to run out of insulin. And you may have it so bad that, you may not find a plant out there that's going to do as good as, a shot of insulin will. It's very possible. I don't know. Like I said, but the big problem is 90% of the population doesn't know any of this information. They don't have a desire to learn it because they're not living
that's
that.
true.
And they're not living it. And so when you get that many people that don't know what the hell they're doing during a crisis like that, you're going to have a lot of people killing each other over stupid shit, dead people, people dying from. It would be a big shit show. And then say, like in California, out in the desert, there's really not a lot of people that live out there. It's very open and very sparse. But if all of a sudden you had 14 million people from LA leaving the city and flooding all these areas where there's not a lot of people, guess what? Your chances of running into people are going to be a lot higher now, because they're leaving the big cities and then they're going to start flooding out into the rural areas, because everybody's going to have that same idea. Let's get away from the big population centers. And all they're going to do is create bigger, little pockets of population centers all over the place.
And they're desperate.
Right. And then the desperation sets in because they don't know about, plants that have medicinal properties. They don't know how to make a snare. They don't know how to hunt. They may not even have a gun or any kind of weaponry to even begin to hunt animals. Then even if they do catch animals, do they know how to skin them? Do they know how to cook them? Do they know what parts of the animal to eat? That's the biggest thing.
Cleaning them is pretty important too, because you can't puncture certain organs.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. There's this, and like I said, and a lot of these people that are from, that I see out there that, are on TV or on the YouTube, and they're like, oh, I'm going to homestead. I'm going to put solar panels on my cabin 30 miles out in the woods. Well, what happens when those solar panels break or stop working? Then how are you going to run the power in your cabin? Are you're going to literally have to, if you want to truly homestead, you got to run off of no power, not rely on a vehicle to get you places, and be able to grow and catch your own food on a daily basis. That's the true homesteading. But building a cabin out in the woods, putting solar panels on it, using your pickup truck to go back and forth to town, guess what? When shit hits the fan, you run out of gas, you don't have replacement parts for your vehicle, you don't have parts for your solar panels, then where are you going to be at when all that shit starts failing over time? Because eventually it will all start failing. It's just, that's the way shit is. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, I've come to that conclusion. Yeah, I'm not going to make it long.
Well,
I can't do the same shit I used to be able to do 10, 20 years ago,
And that's why I said that's why a lot of farmers would be hard pressed to even, they would have trouble surviving, because they've gotten, you know what I'm saying? They're running.
They could probably provide for their own family.
But guess what? They're running an automated farm, and now they're teaching their kids how to run that equipment and how they farm. So eventually, a lot of that old school farming techniques eventually start getting lost over the generations.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually, this new farmer, 50 years from before, if he had to go back and farm the way his great grandfather did, he probably wouldn't know what to do in a certain sense. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, my grandpa was sharp as a tack when he was in the woods. I mean, nothing
And
got
that's
past that guy.
like
All right,
Sasquatch
so
says, you
I
gotta pass on.
want to interject for a minute. I was reading the chat, and I'm seeing Sam Squatch FPV and what he's saying, and it gives me his name first of all, and then what he's been saying makes me think that he's a Native American. So that he's
Maybe.
like somebody that knows how to live off the land, perhaps. I don't know. Where you at, Sam Squatch?
But you got
Either
to
that or you're just being racist.
no. And that's the thing is, if he's teaching the old ways of hunting and stuff without using too much modern stuff, then that's good. But if if you're teaching your kids, how to hunt with all modern equipment that could eventually you could run out of, or it would start failing over time because society doesn't exist no more, then that may not help them. But I'm thinking what he's saying, from what I'm seeing he's saying in the chat, it seems like he's teaching a lot of his kids the old ways of doing things. You got to pass on the older stuff because, like I said, things can get lost in generations if you're upgrading the way you do things as technology progresses. You know what I'm saying? A farmer these days doesn't farm like a farmer did back in 1920,
Oh, absolutely not.
Ontario, isn't that above me?
It's in Canada and it's cold.
Is that above
I
New
know
York?
that much. I think Ontario is just west of Quebec.
But like what the fuck Mike from that's always on Canadian Drone Hubs. He said he had, I think, a 900 and some acre farm. And I asked him, I said, well, how many people run it? He only has him and a handful of guys that run a farm that size. Where, 60 years ago, you would have had to have a whole freaking huge crew of guys.
Oh, yeah, for a farm that size, yeah, the harvesters they have and stuff like that. But see, here's the whole deal with all that.
There was more manual labor back then than there is.
Have you guys ever picked up a bale of hay?
Right.
I've tried to.
I have, yes.
Could those guys, because I went out with the, we live in farmland as a kid, and I went out before they were like halfway modern machines back in the 60s and 70s, but every time the bale came out, they had to pick that bale up and they had to throw it. And I mean, it was constantly, that would kill me.
Well, now they have like automatic stackers and all that stuff. That's what I'm saying is I'm not down on any farmer these days because to me they work smarter, not harder. They embrace technology to make their job easier and make their bottom line better for their ranch.
Yeah, I've seen that show where the GPS drives the tractor.
Right. So I'm not downing them at all, but because that's the way that they are farming and that's the way they're going to teach their kids to continue to farm because that's the way they're doing things. What his grandparents taught him might get lost over generations is what I'm saying. So if shit hits the fan and they don't have all that automation, are they going to know how to old school farm?
Hey, the kids in the city here, if the microwave breaks, they're not going to eat.
All right, so, well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, in a shit hits the fan situation, these same farmers, they're capable of growing their own shit. They know what it takes to grow stuff. They'll just do it on a smaller scale because at this point, if shit hits the fan, they're only worried about themselves. They're not worried about making money for, to put gas in their truck or whatever. They're just worried about surviving.
Yeah, but the thing is do they have the old school equipment to farm even what they need? Do they have an old school tilling machine that ran off of horses?
And I also think you're missing
know
a
what I'm
very
saying?
most important thing.
That's a good point.
Nowadays with hybrid plants, I don't know if they have seeds.
Right. That's another point too. Some of them
Oh,
don't.
that's a very important thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So there's a bunch of factors in that I'd even think a good rancher would have issues with, or a good farmer would have issues if shit hit the fan, because to a certain extent they're so reliant on modern technology nowadays to run their farms or even to farm, that they might not have an old tilling machine sitting in the back that runs off of horses if they needed to use that. You know what I'm saying? They may not even know how to use it because it hadn't been used since their great grandfather used it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I am, where are you going to find the horses?
I mean, there could be a whole bunch of factors. Like I said, I'm not saying that they wouldn't survive, but I think even the best, farmers and stuff, they would still run into. Plus, not to mention, they would have issues with people trying to storm their properties because they know they have food.
Right.
I mean, that's just another big, huge thing you would have to deal with, is just people invading your property.
Yeah, at my age, I've given up on it. I'm just going to last as long as I can.
I mean, you can be prepared all you want and have a plan, but that plan's only going to get you so long. And then, yeah, you might have stacked up to 3 months worth of MREs and have a little small bunker to hide in. But what happens when you run out of MREs? And then what are you going to do? Especially if you're just a person that really doesn't hunt or anything. You just decided to stock up on shit just in case,
And the thing that you and Ed might forget too is, like, if it happens right now, this time of year up here, you got to worry about freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's even
when the grid goes down, you don't have no heat.
Even great hunters, they go home at night, and sleep in their warm beds in their warm houses. They're not out there roughing it 24/7. Even they have times where they're comforted by the blanket of modern amenities and technology.
Well, Rat, you have a rather positive outlook on the situation.
But I mean,
I don't know. I remember Justin reading the book, My Side of the Mountain, years ago.
I read it.
And I had the dream of living off the land for a while, and even much later after I read the book. And I had a van at the time that was running, and I was thinking about the property up in Alabama, and it's like, well, why don't I just buy a year's worth of canned food? And hopefully within that year of eating on that canned food, I'll have learned to cook, hunt, or get my own food by that point. But that never happened. But it's just a thought, I thought it was cool. The idea of living off the land is cool. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of damn work.
And then there,
nice dream though.
I mean, yeah, I don't have any like issues with people want to live like that. But like I said, just be prepared, because it's not as simple as people try to make it out to be. That's for sure.
Hey,
so, like where you're at, Justin, let's just say this. You could probably get all the food you wanted by just getting what are those pythons from the Everglades? I hear they're pretty tasty.
But even I'll have to admit, even if I caught a lot of animals, there's a lot of animals I don't know how to skin properly. I don't know how to cut the meats up. I don't know how to butcher them. So even if I caught a lot of animals, I wouldn't really know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Properly. I know how to gut a fish. I know how to skin a snake and cook that. But there's, I don't know how to skin a deer and properly cut it up and butcher it. You know what I'm saying? I could admit that there's a lot of survivalist shit I don't know how to do. And I know I would be in the shitter, because not only do I have to worry about myself, but 4 other people, And that
All
right
right,
there
so
just
here's
takes.
your task, Justin. Okay, so being where you're at, there should be easy access to these. You need to clean a hog, okay? A wild boar.
Oh no,
They have wild boars down your way. People hunt wild hogs all over the place. So I hear they're pretty tasty too.
well, I hate to do this, Ed, but I got to get off here because my wife's got to work.
I need to go too. I
So,
almost make it to 2 hours. It'll be 2 hours and 10 seconds. So I appreciate you hanging out, Justin, Bob.
yeah, if you go
Appreciate you
live,
too.
just message me every time you go live, and I'll try to come on with you.
Okay, well that's cool, man. I appreciate you being here, brother.
Now Tuesday and Friday nights I go on with Matt and Jim, but any other time if you're free and you're doing a live, let me know.
Well, when they go on, if they go on, message me and I'll make sure I stop by at least to say hello. You know.
Jim's
Appreciate
Tuesday.
you being here, brother.
All right,
So
yeah,
take
not a
care.
problem.
We got 2 hours in. Sounds like a good time to call it a night.
I'll see everybody
I'll
later in the
wait for
chat.
Bob to come back, but I'm gonna stop the live now. Thanks to everybody that's in the chat: Jeffree Style, Rat RH, Sam Squatch, Jeffree Style, Drone Days, Michael McReynolds. Thank you all. Peace out, brothers, because you are all my brothers. We all love to fly. I'm pretty sure.
Good night,
So there
everybody.
you go.
And when Bob comes back, let him know I said goodbye.
Hit the button.